Okay, it's a beautiful winter day, and as you can see, my solar panels are sitting out there, not doing a whole lot today because it's overcast and all that good stuff. But what I'm going to do today is talk about how I'm making a power supply, or not a power supply, but a battery system to use with my solar panels. So this is what I'm starting with. It's a Minuteman Power Technologies RTEXL battery pack. It's for a UPS system. And inside of this thing houses 20 9 amp hour batteries, which gives me 180 amp hours. The only problem is it's set up at the current time for 48 volts DC, and I want a 12 volt DC system. So what I'm going to do is show you how I'm doing the conversion from 48 volts to 12 volts. Okay, and this is what the UPS, or the battery pack, it's not a UPS, it's just a battery pack for a UPS. This is what it looks like without its cover. As you can see right here, this is one of the battery trains that's in there. I guess you would call it a battery train. It's got 4 9 amp hour batteries. They're all tied together. And they come out with a plug that looks like this right here. This thing will focus for me. Let's see if I can make it focus. Manual focus. See if I can make it focus. There we go. This is called the Anderson Power Pole plug. What they did is they ran these these sets of batteries, and 24 volt, and then they used these plugs you see with this jumper in the middle to make it into a 48 volt system. So what I'm doing is I'm taking those apart. These things snap apart real easy, and I'm adding other pieces into them to make them look like this, where you have 4 wires coming off of it. Then those 4 wires, the black ones will go obviously together, and the red ones will go together, and that makes us have a 12 volt system. So the system itself, you see these sets of 2 wires going from the front to the back here. In that back corner right there is a combiner, I guess you'd call it. I'll get over here where you can see it. If you can see it down in that hole or not. Let's see if I can make it focus now. You really can't see it too well down in there, but there's a place down there where all those wires come together and have screw terminals. And from there, it goes through a DC circuit breaker, which I'm not going to be able to use, and then it comes out into this plug right here, which comes into these wires. Now the problem with these wires is they're going to be much too small for what I'm going to do, because I'm going to be using all 20 batteries daisy chained together, which means that I'll have 180 amps of battery power on this thing. And obviously those wires won't carry 180 amps, so I'll have to rewire from that combiner back there and bypass the circuit breaker. I won't be able to use it anymore either, so I'll have to redo that whole deal. But anyway, I'm going to show you how I am combining the batteries and how I'm making it a 12 volt system instead of a 24. And as you can see right here, I've already redone one of the plugs right there, and I've got 2 spare wires here that will go back and hook up to that battery combiner at the back. So right now there's only 2 wires at each one of these joints here. There will be 4 wires like that going back, and that way I'll have because these little wires, these are only 10 gauge wire, or 12 gauge wire I think it is. I think they're 12 gauge if I remember right. Looked at them earlier to see what they were. I believe they're 12. Yes, they're 12 gauge. And so 12 gauge wire won't carry as much power as I need to carry. 12 gauge will only carry 18 amps for a maximum of about 5 feet. So what I'm trying to do is make as little or carry as little power through each set of wires as I have to. So these will all go back to that combiner at the back. So I'm going to turn it off now, and I'm going to take the battery set and show you how I'm actually combining the batteries or rewiring the batteries to where they'll be 12 instead of 24 volt. Like I said, we changed this part here to be from 48 volt to 24 volt. We changed this to be from a single 48 volt down to 24. Now the battery packs have to be modified to go to 12 volt, so that each one of those sets of wires right there in this power plug right there will have only 12 volts going through it. So when we get to the back, it'll all be combined. It'll be 12 volt system. Everything will be all 12 volts, and there won't be any more 24 or 48 volt. Okay, as I said before, we got this battery pack. What I'm going to do is cut these tapes along the side of it so I can open it up. This is just a cover that they put on it. Oh yeah. I have to cut these two zip ties over here in order not to tear the case up. These little guys here, they just kind of hold things together. Alright. So as you can see here, what they've done here, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit closer. To make this a 24 volt pack, you got a red wire right here. It comes to this first battery. Then from this battery, it jumps around to from the negative of that one to the positive of this one. And then from the negative of this one, it goes back over to the plug. So these two batteries together right here are combined to make this plug, this section right here of the plug, the first section right there. These two are the first 24 volts. Then you have another set back here, same way, red down here, and the black jumps around to the red here. From here it goes back to the back. So what we got to do is make these two combine together and these two combine together to make 12 volts on each one of those parts of the plug. And the way I figure to do that was, if I take this one right here, let me zoom in a little bit so it's easier to see. Let's see here. Let's turn this light on right here, that might help too. Okay. Now, if I take, this is a positive and this is a positive, and this is the positive wire right here. So if I take this wire right here and I cut it right here, like that. Then I combine that one to that one. That makes both of these positives. And I combine this one to this one. That makes both of these negatives. And then these two batteries will both, this will be a 12 volt system instead of a 24 volt system. Pretty simple. So what I did is I took this off of here and I strip it back to about right here. Being careful not to go too far into the wire, so I usually just nick it and then try to bend it around to get it loose. Take this piece right here off. And I got a wire there. I did the same thing on the other one. Pull it off of here. Strip it back about 3/4 of an inch or so. Make a good connection there. There we go. And then I took this and I kind of marked where that falls on this wire so that I can strip it to about the same place. On this one, you don't want to cut the wire, so you just want to barely cut through the casing there, kind of score it. You want to bend this around because you don't want to cut any of the wires in the casing. Okay, and we go back about that far and we do it again. Okay, then I set it on top of here so I don't cut myself, and I slice through it this way. To get that piece out of there. Okay, oops, I did cut through one of the wires apparently. the next thing I do is take a piece of heat shrink tubing, just plain old ordinary black heat shrink tubing, and about that long. I'll cut me a piece of it. I open it up. This is Harbor Freight special heat shrink tubing. It's not the greatest in the world, but it works pretty good, and it's cheap. I slide that back past where I'm going to be soldering at a good ways. Now what I did was hook them back up because it holds it still. You don't have to do that. You can do it separate if you had a place that would hold it better. But for my purposes, this works pretty well. My soldering arm I'm using is a Weller. I don't know what model it is, but it's a temperature regulated power soldering iron. Pretty nice one. Oops, I set the batteries on top of the cord. And just some solder I got about 5 pounds of somewhere cheap. And I'm soldering it right here. It takes a while to heat this up. It's a 700 degree temperature on soldering iron, but it takes it a little while because it's such thick wire. That's that one. And I do the same thing over here. Take note of where it's at. Here, this can be pulled back a little bit if you need to make them farther back from the clip, from the end of the wire. Don't want it too close to the end. That far back. Do it again. Again, just want to make it not cut the wire, but cut the insulation back. Hold it there and peel it right off of there. And I cut a wire there too. Just wrap them back in there so that they are part of the wire. And don't forget your heat shrink, because the heat shrink won't go over the fitting, so you have to do it beforehand. The heat shrink needs to go on the wire first. This can be done with just about any 48 volt battery pack. This is just the ones that I happen to get a hold of pretty cheap. I thought, why not make it into, and it's a rack mounted case, a rack mountable case, so you can mount it in a rack, and it gives you 180 amp hours of battery power, and if one battery goes bad, you can always swap out one battery instead of changing the whole pack. And it's hot swappable, so you can unplug one at a time, or 4 at a time rather, I guess, not one, but 4 at a time, and pull it out, figure out which battery's bad, replace that battery, and go on. I'm sure somebody will have some comment on my soldering. That's okay too. They're criticizing me, they're leaving somebody else alone, so I'm okay with that. So there you have it. Now, unplug these. Slide your heat shrink tubing down over it. After it's cooled a little bit, otherwise it won't work right. Heat shrink done. now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what the voltages are on the two different systems. One system here has been converted, like I showed you, here and here. They've been soldered together. The other system has not. It's still original, just like it was before I started with it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on the multimeter now. You can see what the multimeter says, if you can see it. Yeah, there you go. You can see it there. And I'm going to switch to between the two. The first one I'm going to test is going to be the 24 volt. You see we're at 23.66 volts there. And then this is the one we've converted. And you got 11.96 volts there. These batteries aren't fully charged. They just came out of the box, so I'm going to have to put them on the solar system or on the charger and get them charged up first, and then I can hook them to the solar system. So hopefully this is something that's helpful to somebody. Once I get done with both halves of this, of course I'll cap this back up, and I will tape it back up so that it's nice and tight, and there won't be any reason for it not to work well. So probably what I will do is put a fan at the back of that case, 12 volt fan, to pull air across it so that it'll keep these batteries nice and cool and make them last longer. I don't know if it'll help or not, but I'm thinking it probably would help them last longer. So again, hopefully this helps somebody out, and if you have a comment, please comment, ask questions, I'll try to answer. Have a great day. Okay, as you can see, I finished the second half of it there, and I'll just show you how we put it back together, how we close it up. Like I said, it's not very hard. You just put those wires back in the top where they were. These guys go back over here like that. You grab a tape dispenser like this, and just kind of go around and tape it back up. This is how it was taped when I got them. This cloth tape had been cut at some point. I don't know if that was, it hadn't been done in the factory because these were sealed boxes when I got them. So nobody's tampered with them, but yet they were cut. So I don't know. But anyway, these are some you can get. You can get these surplus a lot of times. These all came from a hospital auction, and they were getting rid of some stuff that they don't use anymore. They got rid of the Minuteman UPSs, which you could use those too in 48 volts, but I want to use the 12 volt part of it to run some light. So to me, I may leave one of them as 48 volts and put an inverter on it. I'll put a uninterruptible power supply on it, but mostly I'm just going to run some 12 volt lighting and stuff off of these batteries. So these things really are nice. They fit in a rack mount cabinet real well, and as you can see, it's a pretty easy conversion. So now, if I take my test meter, I'm going to put it up, I think, and hook up to these connectors here, either set of them, I get 12 volts and 12 volts. And then when I take that and put it onto the end of the rack and redo the rack wiring, I'll get a 12 volt system. So only got to do this 4 more times to make them all the same. So there you go.